Hey there, welcome to day 1536 of What You Up To Now. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, documenting and sharing the journey as I transition from the brick and mortar corporate world of businesses over a quarter century in corporate America, simultaneously 48, 49 years working in and on different businesses that I was an owner of, either a sole owner or a partner or a primary in in different industries, over 27 different businesses and industries prior to coming online. In 2016, following my divorce, I had finally divested myself of my final business that I had with my ex-husband and left the business world. Was old enough to retire, right? I was 55, 56, old enough to retire, but I'm like, all right, I'm not really done yet. There's still things I want to do. There's still places that I think I can share and contribute, and things I can learn, and stuff I want to try doing. And I'd always been curious about the online world. I'd always been curious about the internet, kind of followed it and didn't really even dabble much. Did a couple things online over the years, but not much. I mean, I created one of the first websites ever for my dad, one of my dad's businesses, a fat absorbing pad product called Skimmits, long time ago. It was the first website I ever created and developed, which was kind of fun. And I guess I could go back to the Wayback Machine and look at that and laugh. But that was my first forage into the online world. But over the years, I was busy raising my family, being married, taking care of what I should do instead of what I wanted to do. And not necessarily because I wanted to do those things, but what was really other things that I've been curious about, but didn't have time to explore. My kids are grown. I've got a couple of beautiful granddaughters now. So I have the opportunity, and I had the opportunity in 2017 to come online and start playing and learning and seeing what the online world was all about. And I've done a lot of different things, tried a lot of things that were epic failures. I mean, I couldn't describe them as anything but epic failures. When you spend months creating a webinar and a product and a service before asking customers, which is the exact wrong way to do it, and you deliver it and crickets, no sales, that I considered a failure. But did I quit and give up? No, I just kept trying different things till I figured out what works for me. And that's what each of us need to do. We need to find the path, find the things that work for us, both online and offline, right? In relationships, in life in general. Well, today we're talking about, for Supersize Your Business, I've got a business group, primarily offline business owners, but also business owners that are online business owners, and combining the two, called Supersize Your Business. And we talk about ways to grow and build and supersize your business. And one thing I like to do every day for myself, as well as for them, is to look up an idiom. Idioms are something that the words put together mean something different than the words individually. So for example, today was go the extra mile. Now, go the extra mile is probably not a great example. It's a good idiom. It's a great idiom. It's one of my favorites. But if you say go the extra mile, it's pretty easy to know that that means do more than what's required. Do more than you're asked for. You're asked to go a mile, go two, according to Jesus in Matthew, Sermon on the Mount, Matthew chapter 5, verse 41. Go the extra mile. And I love this. And I remember when Dr. Wayne Dyer first said, it's never crowded on the extra mile. That hit me and stuck with me early on. And it challenged me, and I challenged myself to look for different ways to do things that other people wouldn't do. Find ways that I could add value. Find ways that I could give in order to create more of what I wanted in my life, right? Not from a selfish standpoint, but if I can solve people's problems, if I can give them value, if I can help them out in some way, why would I not want to do that? And I believe, karma, if you put good into the world, good comes to you. What goes around comes around. It's actually karma. It's a universal law of karma. So, treat people the way you want to be treated. Golden rule, right? Don't we all know that? I like to think we all live by that, but I think a whole group of people miss that lesson in kindergarten, or they're missing that lesson on the kids program. I get to see kids programming a little bit nowadays with my little granddaughters. And so it's there. And I don't know how we miss it. I think that we see it and we learn it as kids, and then it gets beat out of us through our experiences, and we start protecting ourselves and building walls around ourselves, and we get defensive and rude. And I think COVID has had a huge impact on people in terms of them moving within themselves, but not in a positive way. It's some people, of course, have used it as a positive way, but the vast majority of the people I'm now interacting with, I'm like, man, you got this hard shell around you. That's got to go. We have to break through that heart wall and figure out what's going on. So go the extra mile. I love this idiom. I love this expression. So I talked about where it came from, how do we use it, and how can we apply it to grow and build and supersize our business? Because the truth is, it's not crowded on the extra mile. So many people are in scarcity and survival mode and lack, that if you offer them a little bit more, if you help them a little bit more than other people, you stand out by a mile, right? So it's easy to get that extra mile and to go that extra mile just by doing and adding value, by over delivering, by doing a little bit more than is expected. Not a ton more, a little bit more. Remember in corporate America, I don't know how I figured this out, but I guess I figured it out in my first job in college. My first real, I'm going to college and I'm working in the summer for a big corporation. And I figured out that if you're looking for ways to improve things and you figure out a way to do something a little bit better than everybody else, at first they get mad at you because of peer pressure and things. I learned about, as I was going through college, I learned about real life work experience and how the things I was learning in college in management and engineering and not marketing as much, but a little bit of marketing, how it actually applied to the real world. Real teams of people in the real world applying the lessons that we learned. And that's where I really learned things about that stuck with me, like peer pressure and the pressure to conform to everyone else, right? The pressure to just be like everybody else and not stand out in a positive way. You don't want to stand out in a negative way either, but just to be in this little band of average that everybody else is in. There's incredible pressure to be like everybody else. But guess what? Everybody else is like everybody else. So the real power for each and every one of us is to be ourselves and to just be uniquely who we are. And that gives other people the example and the permission and the opportunity to be who they are as well. One thing you learn in the world of work and different organizations, every culture, every organization is different, right? But there are very few where you go in and you be 100% yourself in who you really are, warts and all. My favorite corporate job was, I went in with the belief that I was just going to be who I am. And good, the bad, the ugly, this is where I'm too much for people. This is where I probably am not enough for other people, but this is who I am. This is what you get. This is what you can expect from me. Remember in the interview, I had a group interview and we did I just laid it out. I said, these are my expectations. What do you expect of me? And I ended up getting that job. And it was one of my favorite jobs because I just was unapologetically me. And it was fun. It was more fun than any job I'd ever had in corporate America. Not the best job I ever had in corporate America, but it was definitely the most personally rewarding and developing and good experience that I personally had in corporate America. So how do you go the extra mile? Easy, right? Do what you say you're going to do. Why? Most people don't do what they say they're going to do. They don't follow up. That is really easy to do. I found a way to make sure I always followed up. And it was super simple. I walked around with a notebook and a pen in my pocket or in my hands. And anytime I committed to do something or said that I would follow up with somebody, I made a note in my notebook and I put a little box, a little square box in front of it. And every night before I went home, I'd look at my notebook and see that I had checked off and followed up on everything I said I was going to do. And if I hadn't done it, I either put it on my schedule for tomorrow or I did it right then so that I made sure I was always following up and always doing what I said I was going to do. How did that help? Well, I was somebody that other people could count on. If I said I was going to do something, they knew it was as good as done, and they didn't ever have to follow up and check with me to make sure it was done because I knew I was checking on myself and making sure it was done. So I became a very reliable resource for people in that company and in the companies I work with subsequently, because I believe in do what you say you're going to do or don't say you're going to do it. It's better to zip your lip, keep your mouth shut, and not commit to doing something if you know you're not going to do it. When I was younger, I overcommitted. I mean, I was wearing myself out and ragged because I would say yes to everything because I thought I should and I had to be a good mom, to be a good wife, to be a good example, to be a good employee, to be a good business owner. I said yes to just about everything, which meant I didn't take care of myself. I wasn't eating right. I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't getting any exercise. I wasn't getting anywhere near enough sleep. And over the years, that took a physical toll on me. Huge lesson learned. I'll probably talk about that tomorrow on the annual challenge because that's our topic tomorrow is lessons learned. Today's topic for the annual challenge, day 104 today, our BU 365 day challenge. Do one thing every day that improves us. And we're breaking it down according to the life framework I use: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, relationships, contribution. And then I added communication and confidence last year because those are kind of core areas that if we've got those nailed, it positively impacts all the other areas of our life. So I added those. So we're breaking down, and this month we're working on our spiritual well-being, our spiritual health. We did physical in January, emotional in February, mental in March, and spiritual in April. And then next month we will do financial because people are chomping at the bit to get at financial. Okay, I need to work on my finances. And so many people do coming out of COVID. COVID impacted billions of people, and we need to, address that elephant in the room and say, okay, well, what are we going to do to be prepared and make sure that we're okay if something like this ever happens again? Because chances are it was a good experiment, and a lot of people learned a lot from it and have prepared better for if anything like that ever happens again. But we need to be prepared because the fact that it did happen means it's possible it will happen again. So we talked about expectations, our spiritual expectations today, and I shared a 13-step or a 13-point to remember to set right expectations, to set good expectations. And you can apply it to any area or aspect of your life, but we talked about it with respect to our spiritual well-being, which is a little bit different than, for example, if you're sharing expectations with somebody that works with you or someone you work for and with. It's different than if you're a business owner and you're sharing expectations with new hires, or you're getting their expectations of you as their boss and helper and resource for them to do their job better. But I think that it's a valuable process, and chances are we will cover it again in some of those steps again, if not all of them again, in different areas and aspects of our life, right? Because as I'm doing this annual challenge, I realize there are things that come up over and over again with each different area and aspect of my life that I want to make sure I want to consider. I want to consider my core values in each area and aspect of my life. I got to know what I want in each area and aspect of my life. I have to have a process. I use the SOAP framework for dealing with changes and challenges that come up. I have to know if I'm moving toward what I want or away from what I want. I have to know what my expectations are for that area. And I think expectations are a lot like goals, right? We expect them to happen. We want them to happen. Well, that's the same thing with our goals, right? So I guess the right expectations could also be applied to how we're setting our goals and deciding what it is and how we're going to, not the how, but the what we want. Because once we know the what we want, all the other hows will start to show up. So those were the two big topics today. Go the extra mile, and then spiritual expectations. What are our expectations with respect to our spiritual well-being? Anything else I can help you with, please ask. I always like to say at the end of this piece, because I remember some of my most frustrating times in my life and my career have been when I felt like I was all alone. I needed to do something, but I felt stuck because I wasn't sure what to do, but I also didn't want to ask anybody. I remember some of my first jobs in corporate America. When you're brand new or you're in an environment, in a situation where it's a new job or you got a promotion and you feel a little bit underwater and like the job is a little bit harder than you thought it was going to be, or you're not 100% sure. We know with certainty we can figure anything out, but you're not 100% sure what your next step is. I like to be that resource for people because I guarantee within 5 minutes or less, we can get you moving to your next step, no matter what it needs to be. And a lot of times it's way easier. And I will guarantee that every conversation I've ever had like this has been just pulling out of you and then deciding and committing to making that next step. You already know what you need to do. I've never told anybody what they need to do next. They always know and they tell me. And I guess I just give them permission to go ahead and do it because they already knew what to do anyway. I think that makes sense. I know it's been my experience time after time after time. You know what to do. We always know what to do. We just don't think we know what to do, or we don't believe in what we already know. We just need to start having more faith in ourselves and saying, okay, I always know what to do next. And I don't have to do 10 things. I only have to do the next thing. And when I do the next thing, I'll know what the next thing after that has to be. Why? Because that's how our lives unfold. All right, if I can help you, ask. Otherwise, I will be with you tomorrow. Have a fabulous day.